So I think this is an interesting one because I have my own take on this, but which tools do you have experience with? What are you looking for out of that question?
Yeah, metadata. Honestly, no. But more recently, actually, we are starting to see people like job descriptions that are asking for metadata expertise, cool. Which really makes my day. No, here again, I'm looking for like the curiosity in the tool, like almost a breadth of the tools and just an understanding of how they think about tools. And so what I'm looking for here, maybe a little bit more leaning to the way I think about it, but I'm looking for people who don't just say like, oh yeah, I get this all-in-one tool and it does everything for me, and I won't name any tools, but some of them are nonsense. But it's like, hey, here's what I do. I get this tool and then I use it. So I'm looking more for, because again, this is a personal thinking maybe, but the way I think about it is the best marketers are not using all-in-one tools because they realize like an all-in-one tool is trying to be everything to everybody. And by being everything to everybody, you're nothing special to anyone. And so then the best marketers then would find niche tools that maybe I've never heard about, or something, and they understand there's uniqueness somewhere in their funnel and they need a unique tool in that area to be better than their competition. And that's kind of really more what I'm looking for is, again, how they think about the tools, not necessarily the tools that they're familiar with. Of course, that's important. Like, if you're in demand gen, B2B demand gen, you should know how to run campaigns in LinkedIn. You should know how to run reports in Salesforce, HubSpot, those kinds of things. But really, it's like, how do you think about what's your perspective on the tools you might need to do your job? How do you identify the need for a new tool? How do you make sure? I'm also looking for people that talk about maximizing the use of tools, because oftentimes we all buy one and then it's like, oh, okay, we've implemented like 15% of it, and then we go buy another tool. The same tool could do it, but we go buy another one because we didn't implement that part of it. So yeah, I'm just looking for like that kind of thinking about, like, how do you think about technology?
So before I answer, please tell me the nonsense joke was intentional, or did that just come to you?
Of course it was, yes. Yeah,
okay.
It was,
right.
yeah.
I'm just making sure.
This comes from last night. Yeah, I was like halfway asleep, and I started getting some creative ideas that are horrible. And I'll tell you about those later. Yeah,
that's a series in itself. Yes. All right. So I would say for me, it comes down to a couple things, and I think the first thing that I'll say comes from getting my start in consulting. So I'm a big people, process, technology mindset person, and technology usually coming last, and trying to have a process in place first with some people, and then the tool. Except oftentimes many marketers pick the tool first, thinking that the tool is going to solve everything else. So I think how they evaluate the need for something and when they need something is a big part of, I think, what a good answer looks like for me. And then the other thing that I would mention, I kind of pick this up from you, but I was thinking like this at my last company too, which is, yes, there are tools that we're all familiar with that people are using right now, but there's the next wave of up and coming tools that are in kind of new categories. So I do love to hear how tuned in they are to stuff that, like, let's just say website personalization. We're not there yet, but we've talked about it, and I think we even talked about it with this candidate. It's becoming a mainstream tool, and there are other categories of tools like it, but you get to see a little bit more into their thought process of how far down the line that they're thinking, because we like to take demos of tools well before we actually need it, just so that we're aware of what's out there in the market.
Yep. Yeah. It's so it's not as much about the tools that you know and how you know them. Yeah. So it's more about how do you think about the application of technology to your role. So that's kind of what I'm looking for. And like you just said, not seeing technology as the savior, and knowing that, hey, the savior is us. Like, we got to do the work. There may be some technology out there that'll help support us, but like the main changes have to happen internally.
And then the last thing that just came to mind, just because I've worked for previous bosses who have operated like this, but just because they see some, best in breed tech stack of these 5 things means, we got to go buy all 5 of those things for this company, not actually knowing what your real need is at the end of the day, or if it's even going to work for your business, because so many people just buy what they see in, some diagram out there, whether it's a Scott Brinker diagram or something else, and just say, because Scott Brinker said it, I need it. And he knows what he's talking about, but he also wouldn't recommend that people just buy the same 5 tools at every single company.
Yeah, exactly. Yep. And it goes back to like knowing where you're at, where that uniqueness is in your funnel, if you think about it that way, and then figuring out what the best technology is to apply. Yep. And it could be completely different. Even 2 companies in the same exact category, their stack needs could be different. And so, just having that kind of like perspective is important.